Welcome to the TTT News Special. I'm Dike Rostant. So happy to have you. And we are joined by a bright spark with a John Maxwell certified coach, HR leader, trainer, and the speaker, Aka Ali-Kerr. She has just written a book, and we're going to hear about that and so much more. So welcome, Aka. How are you?
I am doing well. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you so much, DK. I really appreciate it. I'm honored to be here to talk about my book.
The pleasure is ours. But even before you get to the book itself, though, how long does a book like this take to write? And this is even before you start to put pen to paper, because I'm sure you'd want to have experiences and different anecdotes to be able to put into that book. So how long does a book like this take to write?
Um, that's a great question. I actually had a Jonah experience. This was prophesied to me 3 years ago by my pastor that I need to write a book. And there's a book in me. So I was disobedient for 3 years. Um, at the beginning of this pandemic, though, last year, April, I really started to not even write the book. I started to speak my book. Um, One of my girlfriends actually transcribed my book for me because I was so busy. It was easier for me to just record it chapter by chapter. So that is my journey.
And continue that though, please, in terms of the timeline between actual decision to, okay, we're going to write this book or we're going to speak this book, have your girlfriend transcribe it, and to it
Yeah.
being something that is physically, is tangible, it is there.
Yes. So it's, I mean, my journey started 20 years ago, and I've always had a desire to give back and to help others be the best version of themselves. So, what I did after my 20 years of experience in leadership, I started transcribing the book around May of last year, and then the book in its entirety was finished probably around the latter part of last year, and then different edits and getting feedback, etc. So that has been the journey. So 20 years, but really starting writing the book in May of last year, 2020. And here I am
And I think
in
that is
June of 2020.
and I think that is one of the reasons that I want to ask whether or not it's just a book. I want to say it's just a book because I looked at some of the social
Yes,
platforms that you have, and I see you
yes,
sharing so much. So is this a book? Is this a
yes.
movement? Is this something else? What is it?
This is, and thank you so much for that, DK. This is an opportunity for me to positively impact the lives of others. I am so passionate about leaders showing up in a respectful and caring manner. Hence the reason why I wrote a book titled The Master Guide to Leadership Through the Lens of Care. And during this entire crisis, what a crisis does is that it reveals. It's like a rough diamond. And in a crisis, the beauty is revealed or not. And a lot of leaders have really struggled with how do you maintain productivity and show care. So I want to transform as many leaders as possible. So this movement is about transformation. How can we show up and be the best version of ourselves?
And it makes me think that is something that is very timely in a book like this, in a time and a space like this. But who are some of those
Yeah, yeah,
influences leading you to writing this book? Because yes, you said 20 years experience in terms of leadership, but at the same time,
yes,
I'm sure you would have been able to draw on words and actions
absolutely.
and models from others. So
Yes,
who are some of those influences for you?
absolutely. Yes. Um, this is kind of going to bring up some emotions. The one person that really instilled care and respect was my mom, my Runali. As a teacher, mommy always exuded that love and care for people and her students and the teachers and the parents. Mommy has been able to influence She planted the seed of care, and getting to know God, He watered that seed. And so for me, that has been my influence. Growing up with mom and having the opportunity to really mimic that care and love for people, that genuine love for people, it's part of my DNA. And I am just blessed to have that level of influence in my life. And that really has really augured well for both myself and my brother Ola. We've really had an amazing mother that always said, Aka, you respect persons regardless of the level. Your respect should not ever vary depending on the level. We treat people how we want to be treated. And it starts with respect. It starts with love. It starts with care.
And here we are back to that word care again. But I'm carefully going to say that we're taking a short break and coming back to the conversation. We are speaking with Aka Ali-Kerr. Stay with us. We come back after this. Welcome back. We are speaking with HR leader, speaker, published author, Aka Ali-Kerr. And Aka, I just want to further that testimony that you would have shared before we went to the break, in the sense that someone just told me while we took that break that your mother would have had an influence on them in primary school. And that's 1 or 2 moons ago. But they still feel the love, they still have that inspiration from her. So and I just appreciate the way that it reaches forward and back. And like Martin Luther King would say, people remember how you make them feel. So it's always a good thing when you're able to say, well, yeah, my mommy did that.
Correct. She left a legacy.
Definitely.
She left a legacy. And that is what I want to do. I want to leave a legacy. I want persons to literally take a page from my book and just change the way that we treat others. We have to move away from speaking down to people. We have to speak to people. Respect cannot be demanded. It has to be gained. And too many leaders are caught up in title. Title does not determine that you're a leader. It's how people respond to you. Do they follow you? Because if you are leading and no one is following, then you're not a leader. You're only a leader in title, but not in position. And so that is something that I really want to leave as my legacy. Treating people with care. There's a particular quote that John Maxwell always uses. He says, people do not care how much you know until they know how much you care. Wow, just think about that for a moment. As leaders, we have these titles and we have these academic accolades. But at the end of your day, the team wants to know that you care. And care is linked to productivity and engagement. So that's what I want to do, Dike. I want to leave that legacy. Let's care for people.
But with regard to leaving that legacy, though, how much does this book hold you accountable? Because I can imagine someone reading this book and saying, Miss Lady, I ain't sure I see that, you know. So do you see that as a challenge and a reminder to yourself as well?
Absolutely. And you know what? That's a great comment, because I'm not perfect. The only perfect person died 2,000 years ago. I am going to fail as a leader. But what I always try to do is fail forward. So when I get up, I'm going to be steps ahead. And that's something, again, that John Maxwell speaks about. We are going to fail, but that's how we learn. That's how we grow. If you think about a child and they're starting to learn how to walk, they are going to fall, but they get up. As a leader, I'm going to fall, but I'm going to get up. But I'm going to fall forward. there's a particular quote that always resonates with me. And you talked about it. If I do something wrong and I apologize, then I have to ensure that I do not repeat the same mistake. Dr. Darius Daniel says, an apology without change is manipulation. And I do not ever want to become a manipulative or perceived as a manipulative leader. I'm going to fail, but I have to be better every day, continuously learning and growing so that I could show up and I could be the best version of myself for my team. Because leadership is not about me. It's about others that I lead.
Now, after you talk that talk there and saying apology without change is manipulation, and I could see that resonating with some people, almost like stone throwing a garden and all kind of thing. But we have about
Right.
2.5 minutes on for the television aspect, and we can extend a little bit. But inside of that,
Yeah.
I want to get the information of how people can engage with you to get the book, as well
Sure.
as what are the 3 C's and the 3 A's. So tenets, so some of those core tenets from the book.
Sure. Okay. Perfect. So in my book, what I've done is that I have really rooted the book in 6 tenets. It's care with action. Care is a verb. It's a doing and a telling word. So we cannot just say that we care. We have to show that we care. And showing that we care is the action. The other 2 mandates that I speak about in the book is consistency with accountability. How are we as leaders? Are we consistent? When we come to work, do we consistently say good morning? Are we consistently respectful? Do we hold ourselves accountable before we hold others accountable? And then the last mandates I spoke about is competence with the right attitude. As leaders, we have to be competent. You have to be resilient. You have to be able to influence. You have to be able to communicate. You have to build teams. But then your attitude determines your altitude. You know, as John Maxwell says, attitude is like an elevator. As a leader, you could take your team up or you could take your team down. And that for me has really been the core of my book. It's how do we get persons to understand that care is a verb, and also we need to treat people with dignity and respect. And when we get to the place as leaders, we will have such a productive and loyal workforce. We need to care for people.
And definitely, but Akka, but you 3 times you quoted John Maxwell, but we don't have your contact information as yet. All that means is that people need to tune into the digital platforms for the rest of this conversation.
Yes,
Stay with us. We return with more.
You.
But this has been the TTT News Special. Thank you for tuning in. If you are looking at us, this means you're tuned into TTT Live Online. Thank you so much. Akka Ali-Kerr is speaking with us about leadership through the lens of care. So before we get distracted again, Akka, give me the contact information and how can people get onto the book?
My contact number is 490-2273. That is 490-CARE. You could always contact me on my social media platforms. On Facebook, you go to the Master Guide to Leadership Through the Lens of Care, and you will see all the information on my book. You could also go to Instagram, Leadership Through the Lens of Care. You could go to LinkedIn, put in my name, Akka, aka Ali-Kerr, and you could get all the information. If you would like to purchase a book, the cost of the book is $150. And so call 490-2273 to place your order. The book will also be placed in local bookstores coming in July and on Amazon as well. So thank you very much for, just supporting me and ensuring that I leave a legacy, that I positively impact the lives of others, and so that leaders become leaders that they would like to follow. Thank you.
Yeah, and when we initially started speaking about recording this conversation, Aka, you weren't at the point yet of deciding how the book was going to be published. So how
Yes.
did that internal conversation play out, and what were some of the factors that led to
Yes.
your eventual decision?
Okay. So when I started this entire journey, I launched my social media platform on mommy's birthday, actually, the 13th of March. And I decided to go through an international publishing house called publishizer.com. And it was like a campaign. And what I had to do at the end of the campaign, I got the opportunity to meet with international publishers. I actually met with 5 international publishers. And at the end of each meeting, they all said I did so much work that my manuscript was completed. I had social media presence that I should just self-publish. So after getting that wealth of information, I decided to self-publish. And that is where I'm at right now. So I have gone through the manuscript, it's been laid out, and it's at the printers, and I'm just waiting for the hard copies so that I could distribute to all the persons that I would like to positively impact. So that has been my journey from the 13th of March to present.
And we're looking to help to follow this journey. But one of the things, though, in speaking about your social media presence, it seems as though you are so willing to share, and you're a certified coach. So, are there
Yeah.
corporate packages or partnerships that are on the table or possible with regard to what it is you do? One, with this book, and two, just with regard to being an HR leader.
Absolutely. And during the entire campaign, what I did is when persons purchased the book, I gave them complimentary training sessions. There were 4 training sessions actually. I did one on leading with care because many leaders don't understand how to lead with care. And so that 1 hour training went through those key mandates that we spoke about previously. I did another one on HR skills for the 21st century. And again, this was complimentary. How do we as leaders in HR navigate through this pandemic? What skills and competencies do we need to be the best versions of ourselves? The third one that we did was actually leadership through crisis, which is a John Maxwell certified training session. So persons at the end of that actually got a John Maxwell certificate. The fourth training session that I hold near and dear, I did a session on servant leadership, but with a biblical approach to how do we lead. And the best example of leadership is Jesus. So I use the tenets of the Word of God to navigate what is leadership. And these courses that I am at a stage where I need to be obedient. So if persons are interested in purchasing the book and you are from a corporation and you want the training, I would be more than willing to facilitate the training complimentary. Right now, the book for me is such a powerful takeaway that it is going to change how you treat people, how you see your team. So that has been my opportunity to give back. Many employers, unfortunately, have cut the training budgets. And so for me, as a country, and I'm passionate, I am true Trinidadian, um, I want to give back. This is my opportunity to give back to employers that are not able to navigate through this crisis. So the training that I am facilitating is complimentary with the purchase of my book. And I have opened it up, and many organizations have really seized the opportunity to get their staff trained so that we could really be valuable to our teams, our country, by extension.
And I want to really thank you for your passion. I want to thank you for the work that you're doing. I don't know if I need to thank the pastor for saying, decreeing and declaring that there's a book inside of you, but at the same time reminding that it's 490-CARE, and
Yes.
in order to contact you to engage with regard to trading or the book. And we want to thank you for tuning in to the TTT News Special.
Thank you.
Have a blessed one till the next one.